Hilda is my favorite Netflix show of all time. It was a great blend of adventure and mystique. When I heard they were making the third and final season in 2023, I came in expecting a home run. Instead, I came out disappointed. Hilda is a 2018 fantasy adventure cartoon created by Luke Pearson. The show is based off the graphic novel series of the same name. It's about this rural girl who studies paranormal phenomena. In season 3, Hilda develops a hyperfixation on fairy godparents. She suspects that fairies are the key to unlocking her lineage. Soon, dark forces conspire against her. Can she rescue her family in time? Now, it pains me to say this, Season 3 is a huge mess. It has amazing world building and a strong mother-daughter dynamic. However, the writing quality dropped like an anchor. The subplots are a serious drag. The new characters are underdeveloped, and the finale left me with serious reservations. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed my time with Season 3, it has its great moments, but it's clear it could have been way better. Can the series redeem itself by the end? This is the third and final part of my Hilda retrospective. If you need a refresher on past story arcs, you can watch my coverage here. Also, full spoilers ahead. Strap in, it's gonna get wild. The season begins with Hilda and her friends going on summer vacation. They arrive at Toffelton, an old school village / tourist spot that's hours away from Trollberg, the main setting of the show. Toffelton is known for its fairy legends. It's a cool location that sadly doesn't get enough screen time. I love its swampy climate and dark fairy history. It's a nice change of pace from the city scenery from the previous seasons. Here's the secret. The residents of Toffelton despise the fairies, claiming that they're child snatchers and beings of chaos. This reputation sparks Hilda's curiosity. Before she checks it out, she meets up with an old relative. Hilda then greets Astrid, her great aunt who's both quirky and adventurous.
It's good to see you.
Always look someone in the eyes when you greet them, Hilda, or a devil might think you're talking to him.
This aunt might look sweet on the surface, but underneath that facade, she has a contentious relationship with her niece Johanna, aka Hilda's mother. Why do I get the feeling that family trauma will be at the forefront? It's nothing big. That doesn't stop our heroine from checking out the town's magic molehill.
It's a hill.
It's not just a hill, it's a fairy mound.
Not this again.
Hilda is a curious teenager who vibes with the wild. She's sassy and impulsive, but will always stick up for her friends. In earlier episodes, she was an 11-year-old country girl who, under unique circumstances, was forced to move to the city of Trollberg. Her two best friends, Frida and David, eased her abrupt transition into city life. Frida is the bookworm of the group. She started out as a regular girl with confidence issues, but later developed an interest towards witchcraft. She's the Hermione Granger of the group. Then there's David, a clumsy city boy of average intelligence. He used to be easily scared by everything, but he learned to overcome those fears. He's basically the Ronald Weasley of the group. I guess that makes Hilda the Harry Potter of the group, minus the Chosen One gimmick. Oh, I forgot to mention, Season 3 introduces a time skip. She's a 13-year-old coming to grips with her missing relatives. More on that later. This 2-year time skip sounds great on paper. In reality, this transition is barely explored. What's life like now that they're in middle school? No idea. This is a big oversight. A prominent theme in the Hilda franchise is growing up. Hilda learned to be more cooperative with her anxious mother. David discovered that he can be brave while keeping his risk assessment in check. Frida was a perfectionist at school, but accepts that she can't do everything by herself. Okay, so what do they learn now that they're full-blown teenagers? Hell if I know. Season 3 drops the ball on the coming-of-age theme. For example, we don't see Hilda develop a crush over a boy or struggle with her own puberty. None of the usual growing pains seem to be a thing for these kids. The only exception is the episode where Team Hilda tries to appear normal to their classmates. Look, I'm not expecting a TVY7 series to tackle something like drugs or gynecology. This teenager angle could have added a new layer of complexity, but Season 3 doesn't do that because budget cuts? It's a missed opportunity in a sea of missed opportunities. So meanwhile, Hilda investigates the fairy mound. She enters a mysterious dimension, but oops, she's then chased away by these rejected enemy designs from Splatoon. Back on Earth, she goes, "Aunt Astrid, what the hell did I just see?" Astrid responds,
Dear, didn't you read the brochure? I planted these wooden spell charms that contain that wretched mound. That place spooked me, your mom, and your grandparents.
Hilda goes,
Wait, I have grandparents? Is that why my mom doesn't talk about?
What's that, dearie? You have a train to catch? Bye!
"Yeah, Aunt man, yeah, tell me about it." Okay, so back at Trollberg, these two cloaked figures begin to spy on Hilda. Looks like the Fae aren't the only ones to be worried about. So throughout the season, Hilda slowly discovers that her family did some funny business back at Toffelton, and it's not exactly pretty. Can she bear the ugly truth? Now that we got the setup out of the way, I'll just say that Season 3 is an anomaly. It has the same technical proficiency as its predecessors. Great art, good music, exciting action. On the other hand, the writing is inconsistent. The central fairy storyline is good, but it's not as tightly written as previous arcs. I'll get to that in a little bit. The side stories, which make up 60% of the season, range from, "Oh, that's pretty cool," to, "How did this get past the interns?" I had this unshakable feeling that behind the scenes, it was a mess. Okay, here's a small behind the scenes explanation. In 2021, Netflix released Hilda and the Mountain King to finish the storyline set up in Season 2. After that, Season 3 would enter production in early 2022. During the pre-production phase, Netflix was cutting back on its animation division. But that's not the worst part. The creators of Hilda confirmed that Netflix did indeed cut down the episode count. Stupid business acumen aside, Netflix pulled a fast one on Hilda. They ordered an 8-episode batch instead of the standard 13. So, Season 3 was originally conceived as a 13-part story, but had to be cut down at the last minute. That would explain why certain plot points are either underexplained or dropped after 5 minutes. The writers just ran out of time. The first 2 seasons were tightly written. They felt like they went through a rigorous script revision process. The 3rd season wasn't as lucky. It's my best explanation on why Season 3 ended up the way that it did. Meanwhile, Hilda reunites with Anders, her deadbeat father. Wait, who? Oh yeah, she has a dad.
Hilda gets her adventurous streak from me. I'm sure she's told you how I follow the call of adventure wherever it takes me.
To be honest, I sort of figured you died when she was a baby.
So did I. Sorry. Your exact whereabouts never came up.
Fair enough.
Anders has an adventurous spirit, but chickened out on raising a family. Yeah, great parenting right there. It's never explicitly stated, but we can surmise that Johanna, his ex-wife, gave him those separation papers. Hilda doesn't hold any grudge, however. She's just happy to see him again. As for me, well, it's a little more complicated. I have mixed feelings on Anders as a character. On one hand, I like this father-daughter angle. Anders is a regular guy who's just trying to make up for being an absent father. He encourages Hilda to channel her free spirit attitude. After sitting through 2 seasons of mothers are the key to everything, it was refreshing to see some of that masculine energy, although his introduction is half-baked. The mystery of Hilda's dad was teased for 2 seasons. I was expecting like this big reveal, but what we got, he hops on a boat and crashes his ex-wife's condo. I get why they made his entrance so normal. In a show with so many supernatural events happening, I guess you need something to balance it out. Though we don't get much of his backstory. He appears once and then gets kidnapped by the fairies. On the plus side, I do commend the show's authentic portrayal of broken spouses. There's a subtle yet visible rift between Anders and Johanna. Amicable or not, a separation like that leaves scars. This resentment contextualizes Johanna's struggle of being a single mother. Johanna is an anxious yet compassionate woman in her 30s. She has first-hand experience of how dangerous Hilda's life can be. Johanna is one of the best mom characters I've seen in fiction. She carries a heavy burden, trying to keep herself, Hilda, and their allies safe. Sometimes the pressure overwhelms her, but she never gives up on helping her family. Her backstory is further fleshed out in Season 3. We learned that she experienced some rather odd stuff in her formative years. I'm not talking about the usual, oh, cute creature of the week kind of deal. I'm talking about spiders from Harry Potter 2 level creepy. Let's set the record straight. She had a kid, divorced her husband, lost her home to a mountain giant, and bought a city condo all by herself. Oh, and her family narrowly averted Troll Armageddon. No matter how you slice it, you gotta admire her persistence. That reminds me, I have a question for you, my loyal viewer. What's your favorite episode in Season 3? If you put your answer in the comments below, the YouTube gods will be pleased. My favorite episode from Season 3 is The Forgotten Lake. And yes, I will be covering most of the episodes in this review, so strap in. Hilda, Joanna, and their pet dog Twig go on a camping trip. It quickly escalates when a spider frog captures them for dinner. Joanna unleashes her inner Sigourney Weaver and faces off against the lake monster. Now, the franchise has always dabbled in horror concepts. I mean, this is the same show where a bunch of ghost Vikings got decapitated every night. But The Forgotten Lake takes it to another level. The action and suspense is incredible. Joanna flexes her wits to distract the creature. We learn that the lake holds significance to her memories, but her memories are kind of hazy, and we also learn that her childhood was kind of traumatic. Now, unfortunately, the ending is a little anticlimactic. The spider frog swallows the team, but spits them out because they don't taste like full humans. What does that even mean?
But the important thing is that we taste terrible. Never forget that.
And then the spider frog is never seen from again. Aside from that, it's the best part of the season. The same can't be said for two of my least favorite stories of not just this season, but the whole franchise. And trust me, the other seasons didn't have writing this cringeworthy. In The Laughing Merman, Hilda and her wingmen have a public relations problem. Their classmates tease them as the freaky friends, aka the weirdos who always seem to attract the weirder side of Trollberg. The gang tries to live a normal day for once, as in don't get involved with the weirder crap around town, but Eugene, an unhinged fish comedian, decides to ruin their day. He goes, "Hold my jorts."
Nonsense! I won't let my rescuers go through such misery.
Moments later.
Pause.
More moments later.
So, what do you think? Be honest.
No!
No! That's a little reductive.
This episode feels like a rejected script that was hastily repurposed for Season 3. I like the twist of Team Hilda trying to avoid crazy shenanigans for once. The fish illusion magic is visually striking, but Eugene... Oh god, don't get me started. He was so obnoxious. I mean, the writing just isn't all that great here. I found Eugene's jokes to be grating, and the plot is more juvenile than usual. The show has always had its comedic bits, but it was never this lowbrow.
I guess I'll have to pull out my A material.
I don't think this is funny.
Really? We're going for TikTok memes now? But whatever, this would have been a mediocre episode in any other show. Yet it commits a mortal TV sin. It promises a huge shift that never materializes. We then meet Louise, a nervous photographer girl in Hilda's class. Initially, the gang doesn't want to freak her out. She's a normal resident from the city. However, she quickly adapts to their unusual lifestyle. I did enjoy her curious normie banter with the team. She gets to shine at the end of the episode. The fish guy plays a one-sided bet against the team. Louise uses her photography skills to outsmart his deception. At the very end, she officially joins Team Hilda. Now, does Louise play a big role going forward? Nope!
But could you pay me in advance?
You serious? Pay for what, standing there?
She then becomes a non-speaking extra for 2 more episodes. What? Let me get this straight. The show introduces her as this big deal who's gonna have big changes throughout the rest of the show, only to then demote her in the same season. What kind of logic is that? It speaks of the discombobulated nature of the writing. But that's not all. The award for most obnoxious episode goes to Strange Frequencies. At this point of the story, Hilda is desperate to find her missing father. She opens her SiriusXM app and discovers encrypted radio waves from another dimension. She spends all day cracking it. That's the B plot, which is fine. But the A plot? Oh god, what were they smoking? Okay, the Nizzy creatures started stealing property from each other from all across the city. For those who don't remember, the Nizzy are magical hairball dudes who can travel across negative spaces. They're friendly with humans, but are territorial in nature. The gang tries to quell this feud, but it quickly turns into an 8-player Smash tournament. This A-plot has no right to exist. It has dumb bickering, pointless chase scenes, and just screams, "We're running out of ideas." which is weird because this franchise has only 34 episodes, 35 if you count the movie. Look, I don't despise Tantu or all the Nissi creatures, but this episode just felt so pointless. Of all the creatures to focus on, why didn't they go for the rock trolls? During season 2, the trolls and the citizens of Trollberg were at each other's throats. Hilda convinced both factions to think about their moms and put aside their differences. By season 3, the trolls have integrated themselves within human society. Why isn't there a season 3 episode about this sudden societal shift? You know, Hilda resolving a job dispute between the humans and the rock folk? A common thread of this franchise is Hilda learning to empathize with different people. Considering everything we've seen up to this point, doing a troll civil rights story seems like a no-brainer. I'd take that any day over a stupid feud between a bunch of hairball people. While we're at it, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the last filler episode. In the Giantslayer, Hilda and the Woodman stumble upon a magic tree portal to an alternate reality. Yeah, Hilda is jumping on the multiverse bandwagon, ain't she? They visit a dimension where the medieval Vikings wage war against the mountain giants. Hilda uses her trademarked empathy skills to achieve peace between both factions. However, she ran out of time with the giants. They packed their bags and jumped into space. This is the rare occasion where Hilda technically failed in her mission. Eventually, Team Hilda returns to the present. As a whole, it's an interesting what-if story regarding humanity's early struggles with the giants. The action is tight, Hilda's banter with the boy Viking leader was fun, and I like the twist where the hero actually lost this time. In a rare moment of humility, Hilda realizes that her solutions won't work for everyone.
I failed.
I wouldn't be so sure, but they won't forget you. And neither will that Giantslayer.
What are you saying? That maybe we did make a difference?
Change takes time, and we're not always around to see the outcomes of our good deeds.
So, good episode. So back to the plot. Hilda pinpoints her dad's location. He's stuck inside the fairy dimension back at Toffelton. Whoa, who would have guessed? Team Hilda prepares her rescue plan, but will soon face the complicated truth of Hilda's ancestry. We make it to the series finale, the Fairy Isle. How do I know it's special? The title card gets the fancy treatment. I pray that the writing pulls all its punches. The gang enters the fairy country, a dangerous alternate dimension. They avoid the tentacle guys and eventually rescue Anders. The father manages to escape, but Hilda and Joanna are banished to the Fairy Isle. The Fairy Isle is the magic home base for all the fairies. But you see, it has a dark side. It's a mini paradise where time is stagnant, but can directly tap into people's memories and emotions. As per usual, the show knows how to make the best of its environmental design. There's this whole rundown organic aesthetic with the crystals, the giant mushrooms. I don't know how they did it, but I just love the aesthetics of this isle. Okay, so while we're stuck here, let's talk about the fairies. In the universe of Hilda, fairies are humanoid creatures who can fly and perform magic. Well, no duh. In this show, they're just straight up dirtbags. We learn that the fairies built ancient watchtowers that can spy on people across dimensions. They also use these towers to kidnap human children in order to feed the fairy entity. Wait, what fairy entity? The fairy entity is this primordial spirit that governs all of fairy kind. He's also the life force of the island. The show doesn't get into specifics, but we know that the isle is a ticking human death trap. Fairy kind is a neat addition to the Hilda mythos. They don't get the same amount of depth as the rock trolls or the other prominent creatures, but their morally gray history makes them more memorable. I'm just happy that this season didn't rehash the Civil War plot of the Mountain King. Later, Hilda and Joanna meet up with Aunt Astrid, who decides to reveal the truth once and for all. And just a fair warning, she dumps a ton of exposition, so I'll cut to the highlights. It turns out Astrid is a fairy herself. Wow, what a shocker. In the not too distant past, her brother Finium married this human named Lydia. Astrid tried to warn both of them that fairy-human relations were forbidden by magic law. Unfortunately, Finium was a little preoccupied, if you know what I mean. Shortly after Joanna was born, she had an incurable illness. The couple got desperate and struck a bargain with the fairy entity. The entity cured Joanna, but snuck in a secret clause. What was this condition? He wanted to consume Joanna's life as soon as she turned 10. Your child would get the death sentence. Yeah, freaking contracts, man. So, Finium and Lydia came up with a plea deal. Joanna's parents would surrender their lives to the Fairy Isle, where their daughter got to live on Earth. So Astrid, wanting to protect her niece from this horrible exchange, memory wiped Joanna's brain and raised her on Tofleton. Back at the present, Joanna gets rightfully pissed at Astrid's lack of transparency. The cloaked figures, who kidnapped her ex-husband earlier in the season, reveal themselves in Finium and Lydia. They admit they needed to get Team Hilda's attention somehow, and you know what? Mission accomplished. But that doesn't deter their granddaughter. Hilda is happy to learn that she has fairy DNA, which explains her blue hair and her witchcraft abilities. Let me just say, this family angle is pretty well done. It's a bittersweet payoff to Season 3. Throughout the whole season, we don't know where Hilda's lineage comes from. It originally started off as a happy family, but because of the terrible fairy law, they had to separate. We see Joanna reliving some repressed memories of leaving your daughter at the lake. You can feel the pain and joy when Joanna finally confronts her aunt. Joanna wants to simmer in the simpler times when her family was still together. There's a scene where Joanna and Hilda witness visions of their Season 1 home. It was a cozy place that kept them safe and had so many other great memories. The voice acting here is superb, especially for Joanna. Her performance feels so raw. She might be the best voice actor on the whole show.
How could you keep that from me for so long? I've regained my past. But I'm not going to rob you of your future. Our future.
Okay, we have an ending to wrap up. So after some reconciliation, Joanna and Hilda decide they can't stay in the Isle much longer. Joanna says one last goodbye to her parents. Unfortunately, the fairy entity hid another secret clause. If Joanna ever came back to the Isle and then decided to leave, he's gonna consume her soul no matter what. He sends his army of tentacles. Hilda, I know you practiced magic before, but how are you going to escape this time? It's not like your dog can summon a sky bridge.
It's the deer foxes. This is our chance to leave!
Oh, give me a break. Okay, I have a beef with Twig summoning his deer fox army. It's a cool battle scene, but this army just comes out of nowhere. For those who don't remember, Twig is a magical deer fox. Back in Season 2, we learned that deer foxes can communicate and travel across dimensions. So, let me get this straight. Twig discovers his ability to hop between dimensions in one episode, proceeds to forget about it for 2 seasons, and then 15 minutes before the big finale, he remembers he can do that? Twig, it would have been really useful if you brought that up earlier in Season 3. I know that sometimes writers bend the plot in weird ways in order for it to work, but the way that the writers did it for this episode felt really clumsy. It would have been more satisfying if Twig's ability was foreshadowed throughout the entirety of Season 3, but say it with me, the writers ran out of time and some things just became sloppy. Yet that isn't my biggest problem. During the battle, Astrid tries to persuade the fairy entity to take her prisoner instead. However, Victoria Van Gale steps out of the portal and agrees to take Astrid's place. Why? Because Van Gale wants to research the Isle for herself. Does the fairy entity zap her on spot or turn her into a zombie or whatever? No. The fairy entity accepts this offer on the spot. Wait, what? Let's back up just a minute. For those who don't remember, Victoria Van Gale is a mad scientist from Trollberg. Back in Season 2, she accidentally sent herself to the fairy dimension. Between then and now, she tinkered with the magic watchtowers that the fairies left behind. Then, because reasons, Anders was dropped off next to Victoria, and both of them used that fairy tech to send radio waves back to Earth. It's just a shame that Victoria failed her ethics exam. Van Gale is a dark reflection of our heroine. Hilda tries to respect Mother Nature. Van Gale is the complete opposite. In Season 1, she studied a cloud spirit against his will. Her exploits almost sent Trollberg to the Ice Age. In the second season, she performs necromancy on an artificial Nissi corpse. To say that her experiments were illegal is putting it lightly. Let's go back to the present situation. Astrid lets the deal between the fairy entity and Van Gale through. Astrid, aren't you forgetting something? Mad scientist lady plus evil fairy spirit? Hello? How is that not a cause for concern? Astrid just lets it slip. I'm just astonished that the writers didn't think twice about this alliance. Alright, I vented for long enough. Anyway, Team Hilda escapes into Tofleton, but surprise, Joanna dies from the curse of the fairy entity. However, Victoria Ex Machina kicks in. I'll give the writers some credit. This fake-out death was handled well. The suspense, the lack of music, the surprise reversal of fate, it was a well-executed scene. Eventually, Astrid returns to Earth and Team Hilda celebrates this victory. A few days later, Hilda, her family, and her wingmen attend the annual bird parade. Hilda assisted with the parade back in season 1. Yeah, it's one of those full circle kind of endings. You know, it's a treat seeing so many callbacks to past characters. The series ends with Hilda leaping into the air with the Great Raven. This ending didn't redeem the shoddy writing choices throughout season 3, but I gotta admit, I'm a sucker for happy epilogues, and this just fit the bill. Hilda Season 3 wasn't the home run I expected it to be. The writing quality is like a valley. It has a lot of great highs, but a lot of sunken lows. I love the deep cut trauma between Hilda, her mom, and their fairy relatives. Outside of the main quest, the side content was a mixed bag, and the last episode had major contrivances. I don't know if I should blame Netflix for rushing them out, or the creators just being a little careless with the finer details. I can't fault them too much. Season 3 was ambitious from the get-go, but had to scale things back due to budget constraints. Even with all my nitpicking, I still enjoyed the season. The epilogue was satisfying and left the franchise on a high note. Similar to its heroine, the Hilda franchise is about exploring new ideas. It doesn't always pan out well, but empathy and friends can bring you to greater heights. Such is the life of an adventurer.
Such is the life of an adventurer.
Such is the life!
If you tuned in for this long, thank you for watching. And remember, no fairy godparents were harmed in the making of this video. Bye!